Alrighty, so mentioned about how we're going to do long division with a higher degree divisor. So what I mean by higher degree is that in your divisor you have where it's x to the second power, or in other example you might have something higher like x to the third or x to the fourth in your divisor. So we're going to work with this and see how it goes. Now keep in mind, we have to still follow the same rules that we did for synthetic division and long division. So first one is all terms are there. So let's look at the problem. So we have 2x to the fifth plus 6x to the third minus x squared plus 9 divided by x squared plus 2. So first we're going to check if there's any missing terms. So we see that the highest is 5. So if we're going to count down by 1, what comes after 5 is 4. I don't see it. So that means that there's a missing term. We're going to fill that in with a 0. So I'm going to rewrite it. So 2x to the fifth plus 0 x to the fourth. Then there's an x to the third. So I'm going to bring down 6x to the third. And again, if I'm counting down by 1, after 3 is 2, which we do have. So minus x squared. And then after x squared is 1. Now here, there is no x. So that means that we have to fill that one in too. So plus 0x. And then after x, there's a constant, plus 9. So I'm going to fill that in. Got everything in for that side. Now, let's take a look at your divisor. We also have to check if there's any missing terms in our divisor. So our highest exponent in our divisor is 2. If I was to count down by 1, what comes after this should be x to the 1 power. I don't see it. So that means I have to fill that one in also. So, I'm going to put x squared first, and then plus 0x. Now there's a constant, so that's the plus 2. Here you go. Alright. So, we have our missing terms in this one, and then missing terms in that one. And that's quite a lot. So, we're going to work with this step by step. So, once we fill in our missing terms, we're going to set it up. Alright, so our divisor will be right here. X squared plus 0x plus 2. And then 2 to x to the fifth plus 0x to the fourth plus 6x to the third minus x squared plus 0x plus 9. Alrighty, let's set up the line for dividing. Alright. So our first step is we're going to take a look at x squared and 2x to the fifth. Now, since I have little room, so I'm basically going to do this in my head. But I'm basically doing the same process as the previous two videos. So x squared goes into 2x to the fifth, 2x to the third. So, I'm going to write 2x to the third. Alright, because let's take a look. If we multiply 2x to the third times x squared, that's going to give us 2x to the fifth. So I'm good with this. This is correct, 2x to the third. So again, I want to multiply this to our divisor. So 2x to the third times x squared would be 2x to the fifth power. Now here, 2x to the third times 0x Well, that's going to be plus 0x to the fourth. Remember, if you notice this is a 0x, x times x to the third will become x to the fourth. Now, 2x to the third times 2 will be plus 4x to the third, parenthesis and minus. Now again, if I don't want that parenthesis, I'm just going to change the sign in all of the terms inside the parenthesis. So I'm going to get rid of the parenthesis, and then I'm going to change all the signs. Since they're all positive, they'll all become negative. Alright, so if we look at each column, so 2x to the fifth minus 2x to the fifth, that's going to cancel. Now here, 0x to the fourth minus 0x to the fourth, well, that's just 0x to the fourth. And here, 6x to the third minus 6x to the third, minus 4x to the third will be plus 2x to the third. And then I'm going to bring down our next term here, so minus x squared. So I'm going to bring it down, minus x squared. Again, we're going to look at this first term and compare it with x squared from our divisor. So if you take a look at that, x squared goes into 0x to the fourth, 0x squared. So I'm going to write plus 0x squared. So let's take a look. If 0x squared times x squared, if we multiply that, we're going to get 0x to the fourth. Okay, so that works. So this one's good. 0x squared. Again, 0 times the invisible 1 here is 0. And then if we do x squared times x squared, that's x to the fourth. Now we're going to do 0x squared times 0x. That's just plus 0x to the third. And then 0x squared times 2, well, 0x squared times 2, 0 times 2, well, that's just a 0x squared. Parenthesis and minus. And again, if you want to get rid of parentheses, I'm just going to change the sign in all terms inside. So positive, positive, positive. If I want to change it, it's going to be negative, negative, negative. So I'm going to get rid of the parenthesis. Now I'm changing all the sign to negative. So minus, minus, minus. And then here, 0x4 minus 0x4, well, nothing happens. Basically cancel out. Now, positive 2x to the third minus 0x to the third, well, 2 minus 0, nothing happens to it, so it's just 2x to the third. And then here, minus or negative x squared, or negative 1x squared minus 0x squared is just negative x squared. And then I'm bringing down the next term, so the 0x. So that's plus 0x. Alright. Now we're going to take a look at the first term, which is 2x to the third power. If we were to compare it, x squared and 2x to the third power, well, we need to multiply x squared by 2x. So, alright, plus 2x because it's positive. So 2x times x squared, That's going to give us 2x to the third. And then if I do 2x times 0x, that's just going to be plus 0x squared. And again, x times x is x squared, which we have right here. Now 2x times 2 is just simply plus 4x, parenthesis and minus. And again, I want to get rid of the parenthesis, don't want to look too confusing, so I'm just going to change the sign of everything that's inside. So get rid of the parentheses, get rid of the parentheses with the minus, and changing all the signs. Since they were all positive from the beginning, they're all going to be negative. So minus, minus, minus. There we go. So 2x to the third minus 2x to the third cancel out. Now move on to the next. So negative x squared minus 0x squared. So basically negative 1x squared minus 0x squared. So it doesn't change because it's being subtracted by 0. So negative x squared. And then 0x minus 4x will be minus 4x. And then now I'm going to bring down that plus 9. So bring it down. This is plus 9. Alright, and again this is negative. Alright, move this up a bit. Now, going to compare negative x squared right here. So what do we multiply by to get x squared become negative x squared? Well, if that's positive and this is negative and has the same exponent, that means we're just going to simply multiply by negative 1. So minus 1. So I'm going to multiply by, let me write that a little bit bigger, the divisor by minus 1 or negative 1. So negative 1 or minus 1 times x squared, that's going to become negative x squared. Negative 1 times 0x, again, negative 1 times 0 is just 0. So negative 1 times 0x is just minus 0x. And then negative 1 times 2 will be negative 2. So I'm going to write negative 2 here. Parenthesis, parenthesis, and subtract. And again, I want to get rid of the parentheses. So I'm just going to change the signs to their opposite. So since everything is negative from the beginning, I'm going to change it to positive. So I'm going to get rid of the parentheses, get rid of the parentheses, and change everything to their opposite sign. Alright, so negative x squared plus x squared, that's going to cancel out. Negative 4x plus 0x, that's going to be negative 4x. And then 9 plus 2 is plus 11. Alright, so this negative 4x, if we look at the degree or the exponent, it's to the 1 power. It's less than this. So that means, right here to visually see, since it's less than our divisor, that means we can stop. This is our remainder. Alright. So let's write out our answer. So basically, following from this, it's going to be 2x to the third. That's plus 0 x squared plus 2x minus 1. Now, since we have a 0 with the x squared, you're not required to write it out, but if you do, points won't be taken away. That's okay. So, since that's 0, what I can do is I can erase it and not have it there. So I'm going to rewrite the answer just without the 0x. So we have 2x to the third, and since that's 0, I don't have to write it. I'm going to write plus 2x, and then minus 1. Alright, but I'm not done. This is our remainder. Now, this is the part where we have to be very, very careful. You see how it's negative? Alright. Now, this is what you can do. If that's negative, what we can do is we're going to pull out the negative from this. But if we do that, that's going to be more work. But that's going to be the proper way. So I'm going to pull out the negative from this. So since that's negative, I'm going to write minus. Now, since I'm pulling the negative away, the opposite of negative 4x to the 1 power is just 4x. And here I'm putting the parenthesis. Since I'm pulling out the negative from here, I got to do it from also the plus 11. So, since I pulled the negative from 4x, that became a positive 4x. Now I'm going to pull out the negative from the plus 11. So, since I'm pulling it out, the opposite of plus 11 is minus 11. And then close parenthesis. And then our denominator is our divisor. So, x squared plus 2. And again, I didn't fill in at 0 because again it's 0. So I'm doing the same thing as the answer. I don't need to fill it in here. Since that's 0x, I don't need to fill it in here. But we do need it when we're dividing. So, again, since that's negative, I'm pulling it away, or I'm factoring it out, the negative. And that becomes 4x minus 11. Now, if I were to distribute the negative, if I distribute to this, that becomes negative 4x, which is right there. Negative 4x. And then I distribute to the minus 11, that becomes plus 11, which we have right there at the bottom. So, that's how you're going to factor out the negative if your remainder start off with negative. So here's our answer. And again, up here is the 0x squared. In your answer, you don't have to include it. Now, if you write it by accident, that's okay. As long as you have everything else, you still get full credit. Just having 0x squared, meaning that there is no x squared, that's okay. Since I didn't put 0 in our answer, I'm doing the same thing with our divisor. We have 0x here, but I don't need to put it right there. So again, x squared plus 2, that came from our divisor. And then 4x minus 11, again, it looked different because I factored out the negative. So even though it's a lot of work, gotta follow step by step and do it correctly. And this is our answer.